This is the October 2nd Harbor Management Commission Plan Update Committee meeting. In light of COVID-19, public comment is allowed only in written form. If you have comments, please send them to our email, which is hmc@fairfieldct.org, and put Plan Update Committee 10-2 meeting in the subject line. At the moment, it is 3:04 p.m., and in attendance are Jack Herschler, Jeff Stedman, Doug Metchik, Kim Taylor. We're waiting for Mary Van Kanta. So did you all get the draft questionnaire from Jeff that went out earlier this afternoon?
I have it, yes.
Yes, I did.
Good. Jeff said he set it up, but this way, but it's not set up in SurveyMonkey, so that we could play around with it a little bit.
Mary's going to join us.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Great. So, Jeff, tell us about this draft questionnaire. I thought it was pretty good.
Well, I don't know if these are the questions that you wanted, but I think there was some discussion about making it easier for people to just check a box instead of writing out a long. But so this allows them to check the box and also add comments if they want to, and that will all fit into the online format.
Right.
And the first page, can be welcome, and then would have the letter or the introduction. Mm-hmm. And then there's these simple questions, and it's set up so you can check as many boxes as you want, as someone would want. And it doesn't. I don't know. This was my first crack at it's sort of an outreach, and also I don't know yet if the link to the survey you'd be able to get to it when you're filling out the link to the presentation that's on that first page. I don't know if that will work, but if it doesn't, we'll figure out something else. So the question is, if these questions are you think are of interest, and then I'll set up the online account. I think it's like $39 now or something, but that's not that much.
No, we can afford that. Doug, you've done these and seen this before. How does this? What's your reaction?
Oh, I think this is great. I have, as we go through it, a couple of minor comments to add that are in the questionnaire itself.
Okay.
But I think it's great.
Okay. Should we start with the questionnaire? That may be.
I'm here now, Kim.
Mary, we're delighted to have you.
I'm sorry, I fell asleep.
It sounds wonderful.
I know.
Mary, that's better than joining the meeting and then falling asleep because of what we talk about.
I'm sorry.
I must say, there's nothing like a 3:00 nap.
No, I know. I've never had them in my life before, but right now I'm having them almost every day.
That's wonderful. So why don't we take a look then at the starting on page 2, and just go through the questions, and how we introduce it, is one thing, but the questions are really kind of the meat of the reason that we're doing it. So why don't we start there?
I just made these up, and there's I don't know what other ways people would enjoy the harbor. Or one way I enjoy reading about it, but that's another. I don't know if that's what we want to put here.
No, I don't think that's.
I know.
Do what you do.
I know.
What is the right term for boats that are, instead of paddling, what is that? There is a term for that, and it's in the state.
Is there? I don't know.
It's in the state.
Well, I do. Well, I don't know. This is Doug speaking. Can you hear me?
Yes?
Yep.
I don't know if this is sort of to the state or to a rule, but I think the most common term is paddle sports, 2 words.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I just, being in the outdoor industry, I see that a lot. And so one of the suggestions I had was to change the bullet point that's labeled paddle boating to be paddle sports, and then after kayaking to add stand-up paddle as a third sport.
And that's what they call it, Doug, stand-up paddle?
Yes, stand-up, and then new word paddle.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that's good.
Let's see. I know what it is. It's wind powered and hand. I forget what I've chucked that state book too. Darn it.
Well, I think paddle sports pretty much covers that, Mary.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Sport,
what we're talking about here, because you don't have to have a sport to go out to paddle. You can just go out and enjoy it.
Right.
Looks pretty comprehensive to me. The only thing you missed, Jeff, was the illegal swimming option.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
I'm wondering if under the first one, though, where wind-powered boating, we don't allow board sailing in the harbor, do we? Don't we mean, when you say board sailing, aren't we talking about windsurfing? Isn't that, are the two synonymous?
I would, my personal view is I would suggest we say sailboat, paddle sports, powerboat, which I think is the most common used terms within the industry.
Yep.
I mean, I understand the technical piece here, just to make it a little more user-friendly.
Yeah.
I think we would just say sailboat, paddle sports, powerboat. Or sailboating, paddle sports, powerboat.
Okay.
Got that?
I think that's a good idea, yes. Sailing, recreational boating, sail-powered, sailboating.
Sailboats, paddle sports, motorboats.
Yeah. And you can certainly use the board sails outside the harbor.
Right.
And some people do use them inside the harbor. I remember Barbara from the boatyard sailing down on her, what do you call that power board, the board sailor.
The windsurfer?
The windsurfer, right into the middle of the frostbiting at Pequot. It was a riot. Okay.
Well, and I would suggest calling the third one power boating, almost because most boats have a motor, even if it's a sailboat.
Even if it's a sailboat, right? Okay, so power boats.
Power boating.
So sailboating, paddle boating,
paddle sports,
and motor
sailboat, paddle sports, powerboat. And then I have a suggestion on maybe 2 other boxes to add.
Good.
Could be controversial or not, but I thought I'd put it out there. One of them is when I thought about shoreline walking and Harbor Road, I think a lot of people use the harbor with their pets. Of course, there's pet access at one part, maybe or maybe not, but they walk their dogs and pets. So I wonder whether we want to say walking with pets or not. It's not.
Say that
I don't
all
have.
You want, but they're not supposed to get into the harbor.
What's that?
Yeah.
I said you can say that all you want, but we're not encouraging dogs to get into the harbor. We don't stop it, but we try to stop swimming in the harbor.
Right, but certainly people walk along Harbor Road and they do it with their dogs, and it might be very interesting to know how many of the people who are responding are dog walkers.
Yeah, that's true.
And when we think about the for example, like Perry Green or Lower Wharf, so I think we'll be surprised by how many people enjoy the harbor with their pets. I'm not suggesting that we promote swimming,
right?
But I think it would be interesting to add that and see how it shows up.
I agree.
So add that as a separate item, not say shoreline walking, including walking.
Yes,
a separate item.
Like walking with pets as a separate item.
Yeah. Okay.
And your other one?
There is a segment of the people who live alongside of the harbor who are pretty upset about all these dogs. Well, you'll hear about that then.
Right, and we'll hear about it, and we really do want to hear about it. So
yeah.
What's the second one?
The segment of people who are really excited about it too. So
Yeah,
let's see what they have to say.
Yeah.
And then another thought that I had in terms of enjoyment of the harbor, because of some of the priority projects listed below, I wonder whether we should have mooring access as one.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more. What do you mean?
We're asking people how they enjoy Southport Harbor and the activities that apply.
Right.
There are people who have moorings or access
Right.
to moorings. And so for some people who are taking this, they could be part of the group that, enjoys the harbor because of the mooring access it provides.
That's different than the boating access?
Well, interesting.
Well, maybe.
It's an interesting.
I mean, I do see a lot of boats come in and go out for transient, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Sightseeing boats go in and out, so that they do, and they're there every weekend all summer long, if not every day all summer long.
Right.
Is that what you mean by just people coming in and visiting? Is that what you were getting at?
Sightseeing boats.
But I think that what the point that adding the access to mooring access as an item is we would differentiate or at least try to differentiate, I guess, between the folks who are who are doing the sightseeing in and out versus those who consider it sort of a home port.
Moorings, right.
Yeah,
and
actually,
that might be an interesting breakdown too.
As I'm looking at this, I think the mooring access probably belongs in number 2, not number 1.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
all right.
it's an
Okay,
interesting question
limited.
to include. I see what you're saying. I think it's interesting to ask about whether people like the ability to be visiting yachtsmen as transients.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it is a federal project, which has not been mentioned here.
But you're right. I'm not sure if that goes in number 1 or number 2.
Yeah, and but it is a federal project, and it mandated is a certain amount of transition.
Right.
What do you call that for mooring for?
So do we want to just say
transient
boater?
Yeah.
And mooring access really means for transient boaters?
As a subset of the recreational boating, could we say visiting boater?
Well, when I was talking about mooring access, I was talking specifically about the boaters who have their boats on moorings in Southport Harbor.
Okay.
Okay. Well, that's you. Go ahead.
When I say that, I think transient could be another one. If we, I think I don't know whether it's going to be big enough or maybe it's covered somewhere else. So I'm fine including it. But I just wanted to clarify. What I meant was the stakeholders who actually have boats moored on moorings in Southport Harbor.
But not included in the wind versus, or whatever, sail versus paddle versus power.
I think that's different. Yeah.
Or
These
fishing.
are activities.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having your own access to the harbor is.
Okay.
But you could also
access to the harbor would also be the way of getting a mooring, right?
Right, but if we said, so we should probably say, we could even say home mooring, and then transient mooring.
I think that, you know what, I think you have to explain that in a sentence or two in the beginning, into the introduction.
I don't know, Mary. Why? I'm just talking about.
Check as many as apply.
Yeah. So on the first one, enjoyment.
Yeah.
You could enjoy it by sailboating, and then you could also check that you're a visiting boater.
Yeah.
As doing that, and then under the access to the harbor, I think we should include, that your a harbor mooring location should be another.
Yeah.
Point there or another.
Yeah. Harbor.
There.
Yeah. Well, then put it.
Well. And I guess one of the things I'm thinking about is what's important with these things is to think through the answers we're going to get, how to interpret them or what they mean. And so, if we have a large population or small population that's interested in transient, let's say, versus, what did you call it, a permanent mooring or a home mooring?
Yeah,
So an
yeah.
annual mooring permit.
Permitted mooring.
Yeah, annual mooring.
Annual
Annual
mooring
mooring is great language.
Well, it's a permitted mooring is what it is,
Okay.
and that takes it away from.
Right, but we want to be sure. Right, we want to be clear that our permits are annual permits.
Yeah, well, we also want to be sure that everybody understands you can't just grab a mooring.
Right.
Yeah.
So
we'll
annual mooring permit.
Yeah.
Annual mooring permit. Annual
Yeah.
mooring permit is perfect. And then one other one I thought to add is, I'm not sure how to add it, but I wonder if we want to call out ramp access at the old yacht yard.
Yeah.
I mean, what about the person who has a sticker and utilizes the ramp?
Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe we
that's
could put a subset under that one, just like we did
Yeah,
under recreational boating, and you could have the ramp, and also people have the dinghy, the docks, and then of course some people just sit and enjoy the views.
Well, maybe
Yeah.
we have the yacht yard, and then put a specific item for dinghy, the dinghy dock at yacht yard.
Yep.
And then the town yacht yard, we could have that be the ramp.
The town boatyard. I'm sorry.
Yeah. We have
Town
one.
boatyard. You can go and sit in. You have to have some kind of a permit to get to use the boatyard most of the time.
Right.
Just like any other parking lot around Fairfield.
Right.
In Fairfield, but there are tables and benches there which you can use to sit and enjoy. You can have a lunch there if you want to.
Yep.
So we should
Or
include
sit and
three.
enjoy.
We should have.
But Mary, I'd offer this. For this survey and the purpose of what we're trying to do, we're not trying to spice up the permitting process. We're trying to get an understanding of how the residents of the town enjoy, the activities that they would use to enjoy the harbor.
Right.
Yes, you are. But by the same token, you need to be very, very clear. Otherwise, you're going to have a brouhaha going on. I sit on the Parks and Rec Commission, and I know what comes from that.
But I challenge is we're not trying to declare whether you need a permit or not. We're saying that the Harbor Management Commission is seeking input on setting priorities.
Right.
That's the purpose of this exercise. Is all we want is input for priorities.
Right.
Okay, so which are the things that you enjoy most? So what you're looking for things.
Yeah.
And
how do you access those activities? Are you on the ramp at Yacht Yard? Are you at the picnic tables?
Yeah,
Are you coming in through the tide mill dam? How do you get there?
But you cannot go and use the ramp at Yacht Yard unless if you are a person who has a boat in the harbor on a mooring.
Right.
You've been assigned. Then you have access to the boatyard.
Right.
Again, we're not enforcing the rules here. We're just asking them for their priorities.
Right.
Yes. But
and
if you want to launch your boat at the yacht yard, you have to get. If you're not a mooring holder,
right,
or a member of the town, you have to get a special permit.
Right.
But that doesn't matter for what we're doing here, Mary. We're just trying to find out how people do use the harbor.
Okay,
we're assuming that they do it legally, but we're not. We're just trying to get information on how they get access to the harbor.
It's not an enforcement tool.
Yeah.
So, Doug, do you think that's too many questions about Yacht Yard if we ask about ramp, dinghy dock, and picnic tables?
No, they're like subsets of it.
Okay.
Just like the recreational boating one. Yeah, I think that's very good idea.
Well, yeah. I mean, am I on mute or can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep, can hear you.
I get confused. I see so many star sixes on my phone. I can't tell when I'm on mute. So the thought I was going to maybe offer is if we feel like we have too many questions about the town boatyard and the yacht yard, then kind of in the way in question number 2 we split out access to the harbor, we could always add a question that says, enjoyment of Ye Yacht Yard or something and have its own question and ask people to check uses. In other words, if one question became too long, we could split it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we have to remember that, and this is good, the access, please tell us how you get physical and or visual access to Southport Harbor.
Yeah.
Not how do you get it, but how you get it. Okay. In these locations you can get it. There's quite a few.
Yeah.
What about where that fishing area at Tideville? Is that legal?
Absolutely, it's legal.
Okay.
It's legal. It's the parking that's the issue. But yeah, well,
I don't know
it's
if there's
private
any
property. But as long
is
as
it private property or is it?
Yeah,
public?
no, it's private property on the bridge.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's the question.
But as long as the owners allow it.
They haven't raised a racket. I suppose you ought to ask whoever owns it now.
Jeff, I was not following because this is a telephone call instead of a face-to-face. I'm not clear what you decided to do with respect to the visiting yachtsmen using transient moorings. Where is that? I think it's important, and I think it's important to distinguish that from the annual mooring permit question. So where are you putting that?
Well, I don't. It's up to everybody to decide. But under the first question, enjoyment of the harbor, had recreational boating, sailboating, paddle sports, power boating, and then I had added a box called visiting boater there. And then under access to the harbor.
So visiting boater would be somebody who rides through and rides out, and also somebody who stays for 3 days on a transient mooring.
Yeah, and then down at the access to the harbor under, I added a box for annual what's the? Please tell us how you get physical and/or visual access. So one new box would be annual mooring permit, and another new box would be transient mooring location, or just transient mooring. We could say location maybe just transient mooring. Or we could say visitors mooring if.
Yeah, or visiting vessel transient mooring or something like that. I think it's important to be clear what that term means.
Yeah. All right, visiting vessel. Visiting vessel, transient mooring.
Yeah.
Or I could say transient mooring for visiting vessel, but that's the idea. Is put.
Yeah.
You get. I think it's important to spell it out, Jeff.
Yeah.
And what about the facilities that are available to the general public?
That's interesting. You have Pequot Yacht Club facilities, but as access to the harbor, but the support provided by Pequot Yacht Club under the agreement with the town is interesting.
Yeah, the pump out, the fuel.
Right.
Good idea.
I guess you can. I forget whether you can get ice and water too, right?
Yeah, ice, water to pump out fuel.
And those facilities are available. Yes.
I don't know if that's enjoyment or access.
Whatever it is, both, depending on how.
Whatever it is, it's a good idea to have it in there. Otherwise, because a lot of people don't know about it.
Do we add a subset then under Pequot Yacht Club facilities with several?
No, it's
well,
not
if we say Pequot Yacht Club facilities, that would not distinguish it between those who are coming in for those services and those who are members of the yacht club.
Mm-hmm. Yes. No,
and I don't know. Does it? I guess it matters. I guess we want to know if we've got. Again, I guess we want to know who's answering it.
That's an interesting way just to do a subset underneath that. So Pequot Yacht Club facilities, then there's two choices. One is as a member of Pequot Yacht Club, and secondly, like you just said, somebody who's using the services that they provide to the public.
Yeah.
The fuel and pump out.
Please do not head it up as anything to do with Pequot Yacht Club. It's service that's supplied in Southport Harbor.
Well, why?
That's where they are supplied.
Yes, but somebody who's coming into Southport Harbor who wants fuel will be able to get it at Pequot Yacht Club. But we don't want to make it sound like a gas station either.
Well, but I believe there's supposed to be a sign at the.
Yes, you and I both know there is a sign. At least there was the last time I looked, that a mouse might be able to read, but that's about it.
Okay, again, this is just the reality of what people are answering a survey about how they use the harbor. So,
right.
So again, I mean, it feels like for visitors, they may be relying on this as a source for pump out and fuel, and this part of the sound.
Yes.
Well,
Really good to know.
My feeling is that we addressed Pequot Yacht Club in number 2. Because we're asking people how they enjoy it, but when we talk about access, we have both Pequot Yacht Club and Country Club of Fairfield listed in number 2 alongside other access points. And I think that should be sufficient. I would actually suggest maybe we take the word facilities off of Pequot and property off of Country Club of Fairfield.
Okay.
Yep.
I would suggest you leave facilities at Pequot Yacht Club and take off the Country Club of Fairfield, period.
I don't think, I think Mary, you're getting too carried away.
Why? Because it's right there. Yeah.
My comment is we're not breaking down Ye Old Yacht Yard and the various things it may do or Perry Green. You know, these are proper names, really, without any descriptors or subs. And so I was suggesting, for the sake of consistency, that we list Pequot Yacht Club the same way we do Tide Mill Dam, Country Club of Fairfield, Perry Green, Town.
Yep.
But you can't come into the Pequot Yacht Club if you're not a member and go, well, or a guest that is recognized. You cannot go in there except to get what it gets.
Mary, that's right, but that's not the purpose of this survey, to explain to the town how to access Pequot Yacht Club. We're simply trying in the survey to establish our priorities and understand how people access the harbor, not to use this as a vehicle to describe the rules for every area.
That's right. So if we just had the heading of Pequot Yacht Club, I don't know if this is correct, and then underneath it have two boxes. One is fuel and or pump out for the public, and then the second box would be private water access facilities, which would mean that the members would check that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Doug, the reason I would think that's important is
that
that the club provides that as a service to the town by agreement, and it would be good to capture the degree to which the public, not members of the yacht club, appreciate the fact that the town has negotiated that. I think that would be helpful in our priorities.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense.
That's all. That's the only
why don't we just divorce the yacht club from the facilities and just say public facilities such as gas, pump out, and water?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then we've got then we're not going to. Then it's clear we're going to have Pequot Yacht Club members checking 2 boxes, and we're going to have people who come in to gas up checking 1 box.
Perfect.
And there'll be no confusion.
Perfect.
Well, but we leave out the transient moorings.
I'd like to just weigh in on that particular point.
Okay.
Because Pequot Yacht Club provides public access for those things, I don't know if it makes Pequot a public facility or not.
Okay, good point. Good point. Public services?
I don't know. Yeah, so that's why, somebody had brought up maybe within Pequot Yacht Club distinguishing between pump out and fuel access and private member access or whatever it would be.
Yeah.
And so I think my preference would be to not sort of go down that road and just describe all these places with their proper names. And Pequot, it is interesting to distinguish the nuance there. So I think showing the 2 would be there. I think we could generate confusion by trying to declare what's the public facility and what's not.
So
I don't know.
But if we say public services,
Pequot would be is that we don't want to imply that the yacht club is open to everybody.
Right.
No.
So if we have a separate one that says public services, such as gas, pump out, and water,
and don't mention Pequot in that
don't mention Pequot at all.
Yeah.
Would that be okay, Doug? I mean, that gets the service that could be very valuable.
No. That's great. That's great. I just didn't. We were talking about Pequot as a public facility.
Yeah.
And I was worried about that language being misleading.
That would be bad.
Yeah. Okay.
So a separate box is Pequot Yacht Club, and another separate box is public services per town agreement, including gas, pump out, and water.
Call it pump out and fuel service. Fuel.
Well, I guess. Well, I think the public services would be in question number 1, enjoyment of the harbor.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Services for the public. not
Oh,
public.
okay. And we're saying Pequot Yacht Club in number 1 also. Yeah, okay. I mean, to me, Pequot Yacht Club resides in number 2 along with the rest.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, I agree.
So I would put public services in number 1,
Okay.
and I would leave Pequot Yacht Club in number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like that separation, gas,
I do
pump
too.
out, and water
I do too.
under 1, and then we don't. Then
That's
there's no
enjoyment
confusion.
of the harbor. It's not. What do
Yeah.
you want to call that instead of enjoyment of the harbor?
Well, but it's one way that people come in. It's the
Oh.
reason why people come in.
You're out of fuel. You enjoy gutting it.
I get great enjoyment when I fill up.
Right, me too. Nothing makes me happier than a full fuel tank.
It's nothing like a full tank of gas and not having
I'm
to
a
go to
simple
Norwalk to get
person.
it.
Right.
Well, the only reason I'm raising these questions is that I had the great joy of serving as the chairman of the commission for 8 years, and I was on the commission for 8 other years. And I have heard more things than I will ever want to hear about this, that, and the other thing related to the Pequot Yacht Club. So I want to make it absolutely clear what it is the Pequot Yacht Club offers to the general public as well as to it. We don't have to tell them what it offers to their members. People,
Right.
the minute they say yacht club, they know it's a private feature.
Right.
But it
Right.
is facilities open to the general public.
Right.
That we want to represent. What we want to have those facilities in there.
Right.
And,
So I think if we have that separate box under enjoyment of the harbor, then that gets us. Then there's no crossover. We're not confusing the issue for people who might be confused by that.
Now, wouldn't that box for public services, including fuel, pump out, and water, would that not be a subset of the recreational boating, or would we just have that? Would we have that on its own?
I'd leave it on its own,
where's
Jackson.
recreational boating? Where's recreational boating?
All right. So we'll
But
leave
you
that
want to
on its
know
If,
enjoyment it's important. Do people come in to get fuel?
Yes.
They
Oh,
do.
yeah.
That's important. And do people
Yeah.
come
Come in to get pumped out
sightsee?
too.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Is that important?
Yes.
Okay. And why is it open? And why do these facilities are they
That's
offered?
not part of the
We
question.
can't get into that
There's
here,
a reason
Mary.
for that, but it's not part of what we're looking for,
Yeah.
right?
I know, but it is also part of what we want to avoid, having people say, "Oh, good, we can all rush down there and do whatever we want."
I think you're trying to think through all sorts of possibilities of what would happen. We're just trying to get information. Well, anyway, that's my opinion.
Yeah. We're not.
23% of respondents said that they
Yeah.
come in for fuel as one of the reasons that they enjoy the harbor. That's all we're going to get here. Some
Yeah.
percentage of
All right.
respondents.
Well, then, if you just the availability of fuel, pump out, and other fuel and pump, and also a few transient moorings. Okay, that's the truth. There's where it is,
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to mix it up with Pequot Yacht Club. It's there.
Right.
Right,
Exactly.
right. We have it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is Doug. I have a 3:30 call for business I need to go on, but I had one other comment I just wanted to express to, which is in question 4. I'm sorry to jump ahead. I just wanted to let you know. My only comment on question 4 is the lead-in sentence says that the commission is pursuing 4 major initiatives, which is accurate. But it almost reads as if we're already doing it or we're limiting it to 4. And I think we want it to be open-ended. For example, there's an area, Jeff, where you've asked for suggestions.
Yeah.
So my comment is maybe to rather than say pursuing 4 major initiatives, to say the commission is pursuing several initiatives.
Yes.
Or something like, please indicate how important each is, so it doesn't seem as if either whoever's reading this feels the ship's already left,
Yep.
or that it's somehow limited to 4.
Yeah, that's very
Good point. Good point.
That's, yep.
And we're going to change the year on that too, right? To 2020, to get it to 2022.
Oh,
21.
Or
21
20
to 22.
Yeah, it's a funny one. We can't say in 21 we are pursuing something.
We
can
will
we?
be.
Yeah.
We'll say the next few years or whatever. or whatever. Doug, thank you for joining us, and thank you for your input.
We could even take the dates out and just say the commission is
Yeah.
doing several.
Yeah, that's
we
probably
can probably
the
get the same effect.
Yeah.
That's easiest too. Thank you.
Yeah.
Very good.
So thank you everybody for the time. Sorry to be short.
Doug, thank you. Yep.
This is terrific, Jeff. Thank you so much.
Yep. Appreciate your input.
Doug.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good.
Very good.
Bye.
So we can go back to page 3.
Okay.
Our priorities.
Yeah, that's the way I did this too. Before we listed these as goals.
Yeah.
And I didn't know. This is sort of the one I was not real.
Jeff, I'm wondering here. I mean, we've only given them the choice to note to sort of check them, but I wonder if people might, if given the opportunity, might want to make some comments relative to any of the ones they check.
And are these does my mind fail me, or are these the general categories of what the plan is written around?
The goals,
Mary,
yeah. You're right, Mary. Your mind's not failing you.
You might as well use the language that's in the plan.
Well, we have.
You are, okay. Environmental quality, all right, okay.
Well, or maybe it's coastal resources or something. But we identified issues, and then we have goals that are intended to respond to the issues. So these are.
Yeah. All right.
So the people, but I see what Jack is saying. Whether we
they might have something more to say. I don't want to just check a box. I feel really strongly about environmental quality, and here's 3 sentences about what I think about that. And that would be really nice verbatims to have about why they check that box.
So we'll just add a space for them to add additional comments under each one of these.
Yeah, right. If they wish.
If they wish, yes.
Yeah.
I think that's a very good idea.
Yeah, but can you put that in your directions?
Yeah. It just
what's nice about it is if they make comments relative to any of these, it's already organized for us.
And what you think needs to be done, or what you think is being done well, or whatever, right?
Any additional comments with regard to each of these? I'm just not mentally quick enough, Mary, to do it right now. I'll just figure it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry to be such a grouch, but you know perfectly well what we have listened to over these years. So please give me a little space here.
Well,
okay.
No, but it's a good. We can. I think that the thing is to figure out a way just so you can check the box and add additional comments or any comments relative to that particular item.
Right. Well, and we'll priorities for managing Southport Harbor, or goals for managing Southport Harbor, are blah blah blah, and we would appreciate anything you have to say about what you think is positive about what we are doing, and any suggestions for how we could make what we're doing in that area better.
Yep.
Well, let me work on that, and I'll send it back later tonight. But we're just adding for each one of these, there'll be an opportunity for someone to make a comment.
Right.
If they want. Right. Not mandatory, but just if they want.
Right. Right. And Cheryl, who unfortunately couldn't be with us today, when she was looking at the first draft, made the comment that we want to be sure if people offer a criticism, that they also offer a solution. And so I don't know if this would be the place where people are likely to be critical, but I thought that her comment was worth us remembering as we're putting together the structure of the questions, and just to be sure that we don't have a lot of people complaining without any suggestions for how problems or issues could be resolved or fixed.
I think that would be a wonderful thing for Jeff to think about as instructions for people making comments, because that's a very constructive way to approach these additional comments, which is if you have concerns, please include your best ideas for how we could best address these.
Right.
Yeah, our original statement was, when we first did this, was, are you aware of any problems with achievement of these goals, or do you have any recommendations for how best to achieve them? So try to write this in a positive way about...
He was suggesting that bring a solution, don't just
whine.
Stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the suggestion is the key thing.
Yep.
Right.
And suggestion for improvement.
Right.
Yep.
Because that's really what we're after.
Yeah, you're not after. You don't. We may be guided by the state law or what have you, so that we can't do whatever it is they think is a good idea. But at least we have the suggestion. And are they going to sign this thing?
What?
They can if they want to.
Yeah, if you put a place for them to sign it in case we need to reach them to explore the ideas they have.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's something else to think about if you would like to be...
Not required, but if you...
optional, right.
Yeah.
Name and email address, right?
Yeah. And give them a way to do it. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's think about that. I don't know how to do that with the Survey Monkey thing, but I'll try to figure that out.
Well, surveys have lots of limitations.
I think it's all right, Mary, because we don't want to publish everybody. You know, if someone and they do an automatic summary of the results.
Yeah.
We can't publish that. We don't want to publish it with when people see other people's names on it.
No.
Right?
No.
Can you print and exclude certain data? Right?
Yeah.
Like if a lot of times in these surveys they have demographic data that doesn't get included in the summary results, and maybe capturing that might be under a category of
we can
non-publishable demographic data or something.
Yeah. Well, also not publishing names. I mean, that's easy. I didn't see any names on the forms that we sent out at the South Benson. There were no names on it at all. It was just in the report. It was just made a very business-like report.
Yeah.
This is what we like. This is what we don't like. We have suggestions. Here they are.
Well, we can handle that.
And then we have a meeting too, and we're going to go to that meeting. It's going to require several policemen to keep it in order.
Yikes.
Yeah, that's because you're on the committee, Mary.
No, it's because it's a much more complicated situation.
Right. Yeah. So is that all? I think that takes care of page 3, right?
Yep.
We're going to have additional comments,
yep.
And Jeff, you'll set that up.
Yep.
And additional priorities. That'd be interesting to hear what people, if any, have to say there. And then moving on to page 4. I have to say that I thought the very important, might be important and not important to me, was a very good way to do it.
I agree.
Well, I just copied that out of something we did once before. So.
Well, no, it was a good choice of things to copy.
Well, the sand accreting in the entrance is not only annoying, it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's something that we all should focus on.
Yes.
But the question is, how is it going to be paid for? That's a major question.
Yeah, major question.
And the other question that I have, which bothers me a lot, is that I would like to have information, I would like to have accurate information as to how many moorings in the harbor are permitted to members of the Pequot Yacht Club, and how many are permitted to other people besides members of the Pequot Yacht Club.
So that's another topic, Mary. That's not on this thing.
Well, that's a topic that this committee ought to work on.
Right, but right now we're just trying to get this survey worked out.
Yeah, all right. Well, I don't know what's the matter with me, but I always think outside. I run around in the margins at this point to see what's going to happen. Okay.
Aside from Jeff's, from Doug's comment, I really don't have any suggestions for this.
Me
for
either. I think
page
it's very
4.
Good. I did have one other question about the survey, just generally.
Yeah.
SurveyMonkey is going to summarize our results for us.
Yeah.
And I guess the question is, are there any data points that we'd like people to fill out, like you see commonly in surveys, that help us to slice and dice the results by any sort of segmentation? So do we care if the person is 20 years old filling this out or 70 years old filling it out? You know, in some kind of, we don't need the specific age, but do we care about how younger people are responding than older people? Do we care about Fairfield residents versus non-Fairfield residents? I mean, there's males, females. I mean, it's easy to ask quick demographic questions. Clearly you don't want too many, but if we care about any of them or might care about any of them, it's easy for a survey program like this to split our results by respondents according to how they answered some demographic questions.
Well, in the other surveys we had, the first question was, are you a town resident? And then there was, what is your age group? Mm-hmm. Do we want to add something like that?
I don't know if we really just don't care. More questions is not helpful to get surveys completed. So we should only do it.
Well, if we think about who the Ed sending an email.
Well, for some of these, right, we'll get them that way, right?
Right.
Others will be on a website. We talked about potentially having printed copies available in some buildings. So.
Hopefully, yeah. So if we know we don't know, but presumably most of the folks who respond will be local. I mean, there may be a few people from New Canaan and from Westport who have boats in the harbor or on a waiting list who. But I wouldn't think we'd get too many folks who live too far away.
Right.
So,
well, they are well outside the town of Fairfield, some of them.
Right, but primarily, I mean, the people who are walking their dogs and the people who have boats and the people who are coming down to Perry Green and Yacht Yard don't live very far, live within an hour.
Yeah, well,
and the way we're distributing the survey is not
Perry
going to help
Green really
is
we don't have anything to say about Perry Green.
No, but we're asking how people have access, and I'm just thinking about all the boxes that people are going to check, and I'm trying to think of the demographic information that we care about. I'm trying to think what it might be.
It may be zero. Yeah. It may be that we don't get so many that it even makes sense to split it.
Right. Well, one thing that I have noticed is that Perry Green has been used a great deal this summer.
Yes.
Because it is a very lovely place to go and park yourself in the grass.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They have done it I walked by one night when there was a big to-do going on at the yacht club, and at the same time there were people who spatially organized themselves so they were not on top of each other, and were sitting enjoying the evening or having a picnic or whatever in Perry Green, and I didn't see any neighbors having a hissy fit over that.
Yeah.
I gather it's been going on all summer, and it's wonderful.
It's great.
It should be wonderful. And the same thing at the boatyard. The problem there is the parking. The problem all over the town is the parking.
So do we care maybe, do we care about boat owners versus non-boat owners? Do we care about ages? I mean, age might be interesting.
I mean,
this plan is for the is for the future. It's a plan.
Yeah, I think that, and I think maybe a primary interest would be a use. I don't know.
Well, these are demographic questions. This is about who you are, where you live, how old you are, male, female, those kinds of questions.
Right.
The only purpose of asking them is to split up the results to say women felt this way and men felt this way, or people who lived outside of Fairfield felt one way versus another, or people who are younger felt one way versus people who are older. That's how these things get used by surveys.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Do we care how younger people think about this?
We should care.
Do we care about how younger people think think this?
I think that would be maybe the most useful demographic.
Yeah.
We can just ask by large age groups, like by people from 20 to 40 or something like that. We don't need to get too crazy here.
Yeah, well, and the group that is most important is the one in the middle, I think.
Yeah.
But the younger group is going to come along, and we have more younger people on. Well, of course, they look younger. Depends how old you are. Well, I am, and I'm very old. So,
Yeah.
but 40
but
is
that,
very young to me.
But we might want to do that, Jeff. Put in an age group. I mean, then we've at least got something.
I'll add that for tonight.
Okay.
Now, the other thing that might show us when we get results is that there aren't very many young respondents. In fact, that was one of the things in New London. There were no young people that responded.
Right.
Right. Well, that's good to know.
Yeah, that would be really good to know, I think.
All right. So let me add the age group.
Okay.
Age groups and are you a town resident? And that would give us a sense of if there are people who are outside of the town that have an interest or enjoy the harbor.
Survey somehow.
Yeah.
We're going to say town of Fairfield resident, right?
Yeah.
What about activities that are provided in the harbor? And as this is sail training by community sailing and sail training for kids at the yacht club, which is open to the public up to a they have a limit as to how many kids they can take in, and it's expensive. So those are two things.
Well, the other thing is that should be added. Enjoyment of the harbor is community sailing program.
Yeah,
and
that's
also the sail training programs. We could add those too.
Yeah.
That's
maybe to explain the difference.
Well, I think community sailing people will know who they are.
Yeah.
The sailing
the junior sailing program is open.
Why don't we just say junior sailing?
Yeah.
And then that'll take care of the high school kids too.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
Well, let's separate that out. That's high school sailing and summer sailing. That is important because the high schools come. We don't just have Fairfield high schools.
Right. So we want to say high school sailing and then summer.
We do, but not all the time. Yeah.
Right. And then summer programs. Summer
training programs and things like that. So racing programs. I don't know. You don't need to go into that. But this is the general public primarily.
It's good.
So juniors, one for junior sailing, and one for
the public sailing, the town.
The community sailing program.
Community sailing.
You don't need to spell it out, but most people who respond to this are going to know what they are, and if they don't...
Well, if they're in it, they'll know what it's called. Right?
Yeah, they'll know what it's called. Yeah.
And the others shouldn't be checking the box, right?
And by the way, it is an amazingly good program, and it operates with the yacht club when they're racing, too.
Right.
And,
so one of the questions I have is whether we can find a way to email this survey to people who are community boating people, and whether there's a way to email these high school kids college kids that use the harbor for sailing.
Well, Ted does community sailing, I think.
I wonder if they've got a database that we could email.
Well, that's a good point. I can ask Ted.
And it's the same thing. I suspect that there must be a database of these student sailors. Maybe. I don't know. That'd be good to get them.
There's a database. Let's see. As far as the junior sailors are concerned, I think you want to get their parents' reaction.
Well,
we'd have to ask parents.
They're under
actually.
17. They're 17 and under primarily.
Yeah, that gets sticky.
Well, they don't have an opinion. The parents would have.
I was just thinking about emailing surveys. Is what I was.
But okay. Well,
community sailing is a bunch of adults doing things.
Right.
Whole families doing things.
Right.
And it actually is quite amazing how much they cram into that.
I'll call Mr. Ferguson tonight. I'm friends with him. He's the chair, I think, or whatever, the president of community sailing. I meant to do that the other day to alert him that we're doing a survey, and he can see that it gets to their members.
Okay.
The other thing, Kim, totally off this subject at this moment, but if you could get somebody from community sailing on the commission, it would be really good.
No kidding. I'd love it. I'd love it, Mary, but nobody's interested. We tried.
You did go to the
community we tried.
Is Ted on it?
Oh, aside from Ted, yeah.
I mean,
we
beyond
tried
Ted, right.
Yeah, but beyond Ted.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at my clock, ladies and gentlemen. It's 3:58, and I know Jeff has some commitments and has to leave, and I would suggest that we adjourn our meeting, and Jeff will work on the survey, and we'll call another one in a couple of weeks and hopefully finalize this then.
Yes, Kim, might I ask permission if I could contact Mr. Spino from
please
the Fair
do.
TV
Yes, please
about
do.
the different ways he could help us, including doing the, not necessarily the video of individuals talking, but the
webcast idea.
The webcast
basically.
thing.
Right.
So the advice I got was to contact him, and I didn't do that yet. But if you say that's okay, I'll do that.
That's certainly okay with me. And then
it's
we
like
could
a webcast with two presenters.
Yes.
Together.
Yeah. To match it up with slides.
Yep.
And so another meeting. We seem to have glommed on to Friday afternoon. Does that work?
Yes.
Friday afternoon, October 16. Does that give you enough time, Jeff?
Oh, I'll try to set up this. I just didn't have the time to. I didn't think it was efficient to set up the account until we did these things. So I'll make the changes tonight, send it to everybody, and then start working up the SurveyMonkey thing.
Yep. Okay. And
so maybe we'll look at a SurveyMonkey next time.
Next time we'll look at the SurveyMonkey, and if we meet at 3:00 on the 16th, we're still ahead of our 10:20 meeting, and we may have a product to show the other commissioners.
Yes.
Which would be great.
Yes.
Yep.
If we can do that without making ourselves crazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Is that a plan?
Yes.
Fine with me.
Mary, are you good with that? 10:16 at 3:00, and so our meeting is adjourned.
Kim, could I trouble you for helping me then with that?
I'm on my way.
No, well let me call you. I'll call the town hall right now, and then I'll call you right back. Thank you.
Okay, Jeff.
Bye,
My pleasure.
everybody.
Okay.
Well.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.